Morning,
Hey,
Peter.
hey, good morning.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Just getting up. Got the dogs out today, though. That's good.
Nice.
Set there. Yeah. Get the lights on. A little coffee. Yeah. How are you, man?
Good. Good. It's been a good week. Um, Started a cleanse yesterday.
A cleanse?
Yeah, sort of a little different than the normal cleanses that we're used to. It's not really a fruit cleanse. There is fruit involved, but it's more Ayurveda. It's more based on like a lot of Katie's, like what Katie follows. Um, so it's utilizing like at certain meals, we're eating what's called khichdi, which is like mung bean with like veggies and like some spices and stuff. It's kind of bland, but it's meant to like clean out the liver. Um, yeah, so we just started that.
Oh, cool. Like just yesterday.
Yeah,
Finished it.
we're gonna do like about 10 days, and then there's like another follow up, like another like 7 to 10 days of like specific type of eating to like help the gut microbiome and stuff. Um, but I'm
Awesome.
drinking grape juice this morning.
Do you make that grape juice or did you
Yeah,
buy the uh-huh.
yeah, I made it, and then I added lemon to it and like just a little bit of hot water.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay. You're in.
yeah,
Locked. Cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool, man.
It's also we're doing something pretty interesting with like ghee. We're taking like consuming starting with just a tablespoon for the first day, but like increasing it by 1 tablespoon every day for the next like 7 to 8 days.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and it's supposed to like kind of pull the toxins from your gut and like uh yeah, I think it's working so far already getting like it's yeah.
Like on an empty stomach or in between meals or
uh
just before meal or
so like first thing in the morning before kind of anything else. Like I still take some of my supplements and like I have a thyroid pill and stuff, and then I'm taking like we do that, and then we'll do like breath work or yoga or whatever, and then we eat boiled apples. You like
no.
cut them up, skin them because the skins are harder to digest, and then you boil them with like 3 or 4 cloves, and then that's supposed to be good for your like gut microbiome. And then after that, we'll do juice, and then in the afternoon, like lunch and dinner, we'll have khichdi again,
Okay, nice, man.
or do
How,
like a very light soup slash like bone broth for evening if we're still like hungry.
yeah, so you're getting some density, but you're also getting a good mixture of like helping the body rejuvenate and cleanse. It's
Hmm.
kind of like this little cycle, like maybe three or four of these things that rotate in a way.
Yeah, it's very different from the other types of cleansing that I've done. The other types of cleansing tend to be just kind of very harsh. It's like let's go like
Yeah,
5 days fasting and just juice or fruit, and it's like that can do a lot of amazing things. It can definitely clean out your body, but it's also a little bit harder on some of the like micro channels in your system, and it might
yeah,
like you want the detoxing to not be like have you heard of the term herxing before?
like rent a car hurts. Is that what you said?
Oh,
Hurtsy?
herxing with an X.
No, no, that sounds
So
wild.
it's basically like another word for detoxing, but it's like think of it more like a spectrum. So like you can have harder herxing symptoms, like detox symptoms, or you can like kind of lessen it and like still have that stuff, but it's less like intense on your body. So and you do
Okay.
it like over a course of time so that it like that's the way it works. So
Mm-hmm.
like you want to like when you detox, it can really like almost damage your nervous system in a way if you do it like too intensely for your body if your body's not used to it. That's why like Brian and like other people recommend like transitioning into different diets, but you have to like take your time to do it and let your body acclimate and kind of
Mm,
figure out what's going on. But this is like sort of a softer gentler way to kind of detox.
sure, sure.
Yeah, but I'm just learning about it and experiencing it, so um
And teaching it.
And not yet. I mean, like I'm
Yeah.
just sharing it now, but like eventually, yeah, I think we're gonna like maybe host another one next spring because the way they do it, and then the way I've heard about doing it is with the equinoxes. Like that's the change, especially if you're in certain climates, it's good to do that for changing seasons and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but we'll probably lead one next spring. Do some meditation, some breath work with it. I'm increasing my breath work. I'm doing 3 to 5 max holds twice a day, mixing and walking and stuff too. Uh, but yeah, going hard for it. I already hit over 2 minutes this morning.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I was out of fruit for a few days, and then I kind of recouped some more, and it was just some basic. I got bananas and got little mini satsumas. Bought some melons. I tried a bunch of different melons. Um, but it's interesting with the Herxine that you say. I guess I've been, trying fruit for the last couple years, and all of August I pretty much just ate blackberries. And
Mm,
I think I told you about how I just realized like blackberries is probably my fruit that I feel the best on,
yeah.
even over watermelon, and mainly because I had an abundance of them. I had this whole patch in our 3 block range neighborhood, and I probably picked like 50 quarts over a month. So, and I ate them all pretty much every day, all day. So it's interesting talking about this stuff because right now, just cost wise, I'm doing some trade outs with a chef,
Mm,
and I got fruit. I still have my coffee in the morning. I don't drink more than one a day, and it's always in the morning.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then water and all this different stuff. So really not much different, but I'm more consistent than I was, say, 5 years ago. I
Mhm.
was just, eating whatever I could just to get energy and kind of, you know, using up my um, postnatal.
You're
Yeah, my
what?
post. I was running on postnatal energy,
Oh,
postnatal
okay.
chi
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
pre. Yeah. So it's really interesting just to kind of like have a nice mixture, kind of similar to the idea of, yeah, eat fruit all day and then eat something denser at night so you can sleep, kind
Mm,
of thing. So this Herxine thing is pretty interesting. Just it seems like everybody's got to find their way of what works, and it's going to change throughout the seasons. You know.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
For sure. Um, well, cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Um,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah. Always love talking about health and cleansing and
Mhm.
all that good stuff. Food.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we'll kind of get into it.
Yeah. Who's all here? There's Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Madison. Hi.
uh,
Hola.
how to not spotlight. I accidentally spotlighted. Oh, here we go. Remove spotlight. There we go. Okay. Um, can I do that? Okay. All right. So, yeah, this week is purpose and core stability. So, we're talking about kind of the things that um, allow us to be stable in order to fulfill our purpose, and what that actually means. Um, I personally loved reading the lines on this one. I thought it was very cool going through how they talk about the body and the blood and the cells, um, and how they're all intertwined and how we all have access to each one of these lines. Um, for me, I thought it made sense being a sixth line, the way I think about things, um, the way I interact through my aura as opposed to through um, either my voice or like voice was the fifth line, either through action, through movement, through whatever it was. For me, that's always been the case, and I'm now becoming more like attuned to it, more aware of it, of my aura and of other people's auras, and how I interact with them and how it kind of balances out. when it comes to like the full, like you think about your life's purpose, and they talked about, there was like one thing that was underlined because I guess a lot of people had highlighted it. It was talking about how like the purpose is more, it's not like something you achieve, it's more just like your state of being throughout your whole life is something that you want to emanate, as opposed to like a goal that you're trying to reach. So it's really just about being, and like being in that frequency and that vibration of the gift in the city, and utilizing the gift if you find yourself in the shadow to transmute that energy. So I found myself just kind of contemplating it, thinking about my radiance and my purpose and how they are the programming partners and how they're intertwined, and how I will find health and purpose through those gifts, and how they like interplay into like my everyday life, and how I'm working with clients and how I'm connecting with people and offering guidance and support. And it just seems that the more I align with these energies, the more I'm just like on the path, and other things start to just kind of open up for me, which is just really cool. Just in business and in life and in relationships, it's just been a pleasure to kind of just almost sit back and watch, because like if I know where my strengths are and I just continue to go for it and put myself out there and that energy out into the world, it's going to come back. The energy will come back towards me, and almost reward me in the way that like nature rewards courage. Um, yeah. So if anybody else has anything to add or wants to share or just kind of riff off of that, feel free.
Yeah, we're rolling, man.
Yeah, already.
All that, it's amazing because I feel some synchronicities there. Uh, so thank you. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. It's fun to like read these chapters and then just to speak it out loud again.
Mm.
Really solidifies it. I also saw something funny towards the end of it, and I actually took a screenshot of it because I was like, "Hey, that's this group." It was basically like, oh, hold on, let me find it real quick. I think it was, yeah, the Golden Path is also a communal knowledge that can be at its most powerful when contemplated in a group. To move through each sphere and pathway in your own life, and at the same time to do this within a group, is a very powerful experience. Yay! Nailed it.
Yeah.
When you come to contemplate the teachings of the final part of the Golden Path, the Pearl, you will learn about the power of the communal awakening. The support of a group will affirm your own process of illumination, and quicken your breakthroughs. So I just found that like really funny, because like creating this group was like something my intuition was like, I got to do it, got to make it happen, got to bring a couple people together and see if we can. Katie was also that like small voice in the back of my head is like, yeah,
It's like we gotta do Gene Keys book
Book
club.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, Katie's my intuition. Katie's just the small voice.
Take all
Of course not. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. So I thought it was really funny. Creating this group is kind of perfect for that. But I also kind of want to continue to hold the container in the future. Now that we've gone through the evolution and the activation sequence, we can kind of explore it with maybe more people as they come through, and it doesn't necessarily matter where you start, but we can continue to like keep this group open and share and expand on it. I think we do want to evolve it and go into the Venus and the Pearl sequence at some point, but I think we can take a little bit of time in between now and when we start that next to kind of continue to contemplate and to dive into like some of the other aspects of Gene Keys and human design. There's so much to discover within each one of these systems, and so many readings and so much like knowledge and wealth of knowledge, that it would be worth it to kind of slowly go through that and to wait. Yeah. You guys have anything you want to talk about?
Just
Hey
one,
guys. Oh, sorry, Peter.
just a comment real quick, and then you can go if that's okay. The contemplation is really prevalent. It's prevalent right now, and it's constant in some moments. But at the same time, it's like it's okay because it's fluctuating through light and dark, and it's I just want to say it's a empowering process that is different than what I've noticed before with thinking about trying to be positive and like having goals and doing these things. It's like the reality of the situations and who you actually always knew you really were, and then those dark spots there. That's where I'm at now. It's like, okay, I'm good. Okay, let's keep going. So that's all. I just want to say it's like that's what's going on. Looking at radiance and letting go and expectations, and then finding that those brief moments of the CD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, sounds like you're on the allowing, accepting, and embracing, the shadow pattern.
Myself.
And unlocking the higher purpose. I actually had a question for Katie, because I know she's never gets to talk much because we're, sharing so many things. We have a little time, but I was wondering, where are you on this sphere? Like, where do you feel like you are as far as your shadows and gifts? Like, what are the things that you notice, like in your path?
Yeah, so well,
You don't
thank
mind, of
you for
course.
asking. Yeah. Yeah, my path with the Gene Keys and human design, it's like been so all over the place. I feel like I'm constantly becoming aware of like the different spheres. Like I'm like, oh, this is the shadow of this sphere, or this is the shadow of this, or I'm in the gift of this sphere. And when I first started, I like was so excited about it all that I like started with the activation sequence, which is the one we're doing, and then I like went right into the Venus, and then I like right into the Pearl, and I was just like constantly just digging into it all. And I've sort of started to come back to these four in the activation sequence, and I've really been like noticing how these keys are playing out, and I can really see like just the more that I sit with like my life's work is the 31, and so that's the gift of leadership. But I also have that 31 in my attraction sphere, and so it's really like the leader who embodies, like who walks the talk. And so I can like see how a lot of times it's like I'd get really excited about things in my life or excited about systems, and I'd want to like talk it, but I wasn't actually embodying it. And I was like, oh wow, okay, I can see how like there's the shadow kind of playing out. Like I'm not actually walking my talk. It's funny because like me and Coleman were laughing the other day because my purpose is in the 28 gene key. It's a 28.5. So it's like purpose that's needing to be expressed through the voice. And the shadow of that purpose is purposelessness. And in the gene keys, it's literally like your purpose is to live a life of purpose. And I'm like, so what the fuck is my purpose? Like, what does this mean? And the gift is totality. And like that one has really, it's like stumped me a lot throughout the years, because I'm like, what is totality? What does that even mean? What does it mean to be in totality? And yeah, the more that I'm like sitting with the programming partner of that is the 27, it's like, well, what this tells me is the more that I actually nourish myself, nurture myself, the more that I can actually step into my totality, which is really like for me is this sense of empowerment towards whatever I'm being called to. Because the 28 is in the spleen in human design. So it's like, it's always responding in the now. So this is like how I've been connecting these different systems to help me understand the spheres better. So it's like, really, I feel a big part of my purpose is to one, empower myself, to nurture and empower myself, but then like that spills out. Then I can help empower others. And I see that because it's like the gene keys I tell everyone about. Like these last 3 years, it's like everyone I meet, I'm like, do you know about the gene keys? Do you know about the gene keys? Me and Coleman reconnected. And I was like, hey, have you ever heard of the gene keys? He was like, I've like heard of it before, but I don't know what it is. I'm like, oh, start reading it. And like, here we are. The rest is history. So it's like interesting just to see, it's like all unfolding like before my eyes. And it's like, it's trippy because it's like, I'm learning about it, but then it's like, I'm not necessarily doing anything. Like the more that I'm just kind of surrendering, I'm just seeing how like my DNA is being played out through me. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the.
That you
those are
have
the-
your purpose here. Your city is immortality. That's pretty deep.
28 is so cool.
Wow.
She's also a line 5, so
Mm,
that's voice. That's using voice.
Yeah.
that's amazing.
But I also feel a lot of like my shadow in there because it is a fear key. It's located in the spleen. So it's like really about like facing my fears, doing the things that scare me, and like using my voice in a way that's empowering myself and others. But sometimes that has been challenging for me because it's like, the rejection and all of the things that come with being empowered and speaking from an empowered place. It's like sometimes I can see where I go into this shadow of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't have a purpose and I'm scared and I don't want to use my voice. I don't want to share my voice. Sometimes I do prefer to just be the observer and like not speak, but it's my purpose is to actually use my voice. So
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, Katie's also been she's always looking up something cool about astrology, and she can definitely speak onto this better than I can, but she goes into like the houses and the transits and how it applies to gene keys. So like what's happening now in the collective, what's happening now because of the cosmos, and what's being activated in everybody's cells every day, which is really cool in my opinion.
Yeah. That's what's cool about all of this is that like we can look at each other's charts and be like, "Oh, it's so cool you have the 28 or the 33. I don't have that." But like the every day the moon is going through a different gate. So every day we're like being activated, even if it's not in our hologenetic profile or our human design chart. We experience all of these energies. Some of us just experience them more consistently. And so it's like kind of cool when you hear about someone who's like has this consistent energy, but then you can also tap into it as it's transiting in the cosmos and be like, oh, I feel what it means to like remember, like I'm tapping into that mindfulness or I'm tapping into that divine will, like whatever it is that's happening in the cosmos.
Do you ever, when you're going in and out of the light and shadows, like where you say you didn't want to talk, you just want to be an observer, but you need to speak. How do you go back, or when do you go back, or what is it like if you go back and in the kind of a map of where those came from? Like where those were learned or absorbed in your earlier life. I'm finding I'm getting a lot of information with those, and then I just move over and cycle through another gene key that kind of confirms some of that. Like it doesn't feel like I'm stagnant. So I'm curious how you move through it And I think everybody's kind of talking like that, like we're all looking at it with the contemplation. So how do you, for you, connect where these things came from, ancestral, repercussions or healing, or how
Yeah.
does that work for you? Like when you're just kind of, okay, I'm going to talk. I feel like talking now. I should talk.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think like it has been required a lot of shadow work. I do a lot of dream work to kind of just look and see, but I feel like it's more so just learning about the keys, understanding like, okay, this is my highest potential, and just having that awareness of where I'm at. Never like being hard on myself or like forcing myself into anything. But the more that I learn about the keys as well, even just like tapping into the animal sometime of like the 28 is a cheetah. So like, there's like this powerful, empowered energy to it. So it's like I can sort of like, oh, I'm not feeling empowered right now. Like, how can I call upon this animal? Or for the case of the 28, even Richard Rudd recommends like breath and touch. So like that's just something I've picked up along the way, where when I recognize like I'm starting to feel like I'm not good enough, or I'm not like, I don't feel like I have any sense of purpose, I'll just like, okay, let's not ruminate, let's not go too deep into that. Let's just like, let me come back to my breath. Let me come back to some touch. And then it's like, it's not like I'm doing anything. Then it just sort of like the gift just comes through. So, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like more the awareness of when the shadows are creeping in, and then being like, okay, like this is where I'm at right now. And now how can I like constructively move myself forward without spiraling too deeply into the shadow, and then all of a sudden feeling like I don't have a purpose for a month and just like going with that,
I get you. I follow some of that. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's this map in front of us that we can get answers from, even if it's just a quick bus coming by. You kind of go, okay, so like weaving through the light and dark and purpose, and noticing like what it actually feels like inside my body when I'm like thinking about what it's telling me about my radiance and what I can do and what I've probably been doing, you know. I just find it's like really interesting dynamic of weaving through the dark spots that come, but they just go by, and then you're on to the next. I mean, I'm on to the next um lighter side. So it seems like I'm learning this new skill of balancing contemplation.
Yeah.
Like a mesh of both, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is like that pendulum. We all kind of always are moving between the shadow and the light. And I think that's why it's also, the more we work towards like just continuously coming back to center, the less extreme
Yeah.
it will be. And then it's like, okay, well, we're not always going to be operating from the gift frequency, and unless we hit the cities and then we're just enlightened. We're always going to be like, weaving back and forth. It's just the more aware we are, the easier it will be to come back to center. And then it won't be like I said, then it won't take me a month to realize that I am not purpose, that I don't have a purpose in this life. It maybe will take me like an hour, and then I'll be like, okay, I can come back and like, let's keep moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, thank you, that's helpful.
I just had a little bit of a revelation type, just like a thought that I want to share. When it comes to being in the shadow of the purpose or the radiance, because they're programming partners and the radiance is directly connected to our vitality and our health, we can almost look at ourselves and say, if we're feeling pain in any part of our body, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, like just pain in general, we can look to the shadow frequency of, or the shadow programming partners. So like if any part of your body hurts because of, we know that there's a direct connection between our mind and the pain in our body and our emotions. We just like, this is fact now. Everything that Joe Dispenza's talked about, Louise Hayes, like a lot of information is out there about these connections. So we can just look at that, look at ourselves, look at our thought processes, our thought patterns, say, hey, what's going on in my brain right now that's making me feel this pain? How am I sitting in this loop, this negative loop pattern of the shadow, and what can I do to like get out of it? So like there's always going to be signs is basically kind of my point. And it's just our awareness of those signs is what allows us to kind of transform. Literally just bringing awareness up to it is going to be like, okay, what can I do now? What can I do to change this now, like in the present now? And that's usually like what allows us to transcend and to go into the gifts.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
Yeah.
just how can I be with this? It's not even about changing. It's just like, how can
mhm.
I recognize this and just
Exactly. Good one. I
It-
agree.
It was really interesting because I had a really good conversation with somebody last night and I was just buzzing. We were both kind of buzzing, like a lot of good conversation, like powerful stuff. That's like sort of the energy that I kind of feed on. And I just like in that moment, I was like, how does my body feel right now? And it felt like electric. It felt like vibrating in a way that didn't allow for the like when I feel pain in my body, it feels constricting, it feels dense, it feels like tight. Whereas this energy was like radiating out of me as opposed to being centered and like so like sharp at the core. So it was like it felt just it was cool to just kind of witness that and just be like, oh, that's that. So I just got to continue to like be aware of it. And as it goes in and out, and like Katie said, when we bring awareness, it kind of just brings us back to center. So yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment on that. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like in and out of running errands, but I love dialing in here. It's so calming to hear these discussions. But I really like what you said there. The one thing that I found with human design that I'm still so new to all of this is balancing listening to your intuition, your mind, and then leaning into the feelings, like your gut feelings, and how to differentiate the two. So when you talk about navigating certain times, maybe shadows, gifts, like you're, I guess trying to maybe figure out how to guide yourself. How do you really figure out what to listen to? Like, how do you know to trust your mind versus listen to your gut? I find that my mind goes a million miles an hour. And sometimes it's just hard for me to figure out really what to listen to. And I've been trying to lean into my gut more, but I'd love to hear just everybody's perspective around like listening to your body.
Mm-hmm.
a really good question.
Yeah. Does anybody want to go first or should I?
Well, I could just add something real quick. I think, yeah, that's a hard decision because we always have so much distraction around us. But I always find that the very first feeling and reaction to what you should do is your gut speaking. And then right away, your conscious mind comes in and tries to trick you that it's not what you should be doing. So I think, the first feeling from your gut is really your subconscious mind speaking to you. And then if your mind starts to think right away, I think it's just your conscious mind being distracted and overthinking. But I always go with that first very sensation. I'm like, oh, and then I know I change my thought to something different, but I'm like, well, if I felt the way first, that's gotta be what I'm supposed to follow. Maybe.
I love that.
Thanks. That's awesome. That makes sense too. It started happening like one time, and I wish I could remember the story. I was talking to my sister about this, and I remember, oh, it might have been actually about potentially like something with my job. But I remember like my gut kind of made like when you're on a roller coaster is the best way I can describe it. Kind of like, oh, like you're kind of nervous. And I could just immediately tell like that just wasn't good for me. But mine was saying, oh, take it, it's a good opportunity. But I'm like, it's gonna wear me down. It's not gonna be a manager that I like, that type of thing. So that makes a lot of sense.
Also, this entire system was designed to get us out of our minds. Um, Also looking at your human design chart, you're a generator. So literally what you just said, that like icky feeling, that's when your type is a generator, you're really tapping into the sacral, and the sacral responds through like guttural sounds. So it's like when something's good for you, it will be like a uh-huh. And like when it's not, it's like or you'll like feel this expansiveness. You'll like want to move towards something, or if something's not right for you, you'll be like you'll feel yourself contract and sort of move away. And then yeah, the mind will come in and be like, well, this, and this, and try to rationalize because that's what the mind does. But really, it's like just trusting that first like instinct. And this changes depending on your type. So if you were like someone who had splenic authority, which we can talk about this in like another class, um, that would be like intuition right in the moment. It would almost be like you hear something within you. There's no rationalization. It only tells you one time, and it would be like a yes or a no. For you, Maddie, you have splenic authority. So it is those like just really trusting, using your sounds more, like letting sounds come out of you of like, uh-huh, or like, having people ask you not open-ended questions, but like, do you want to go to this restaurant? And then you could say like, uh-huh, or or like, it's just like simple things like that to kind of get you in tune with that sacral authority. And then just notice like, what is your energy like moving towards? What's it's moving away from? What feels like a yes in your body, like an excitement, and what feels like a like no. And just trusting that. And the more you can like tap into that and trust that, the more you'll start to align with the correct things for you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the practice of that, you're actually doing that practice. So I'm gonna try that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to add a couple things for sure. I think when it comes to intuition, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. Like the more you practice using that, and that's something that Katie has taught me. Like it's funny, like we'll go on walks and we'll just be like kind of lost, but I'll like in the back of my mind, I'll know like where I'm going. And you just like trust your intuition, trust your compass, know where, and then like I'll just kind of let it go and be like, okay, I'm trusting myself to do that. And now like I'm really good at it. I can just like get lost and know exactly kind of how to get back. That's just like a very simple example. But I also want to mention that like in human design, we all have like our authority, and yours is what she just mentioned. Mine is a little different, and everybody's is actually just like a little different. I sort of make decisions based on the moon cycle, so I kind of need to wait in order to make like really important decisions. But like you can use your intuition in multiple ways and through different like types of goals and stuff. When it comes to like talking about your higher self or talking to your higher self, there's a couple points and like things that I want to bring up. The mind is a very complicated like system. I've worked with a couple light workers who have taught me about like a heart-mind integration system and like how it works and how the mind and the voices work. And so like when we think about the higher self and we think about like maybe the lower self, what types of voices and what attributes do those voices carry? So for example, like your like maybe negative shadow voice is actually going to be a lot louder than your other voices, than your higher self voice. So it's literally the difference kind of between dark and light. And dark tends to be very heavy, very loud, very just big.
Kind of mean.
And kind of mean. Yeah, kind of an asshole. Like so if you're being an asshole to yourself, you're in the shadow.
Yeah.
But light in a way is almost the exact opposite. So it's very light as in like literally it's like airy. It's very light to the touch. It's not dense. It's light as in color, but it's also light as in like almost
like a
like
whisper.
almost like, yeah, a whisper. It's quiet. And that's exactly what I was going to go to next, is that it's soft. So like if you're thinking too much about it, or if you're thinking too many negative things about it, or whatever it is in your life, in the decisions you're trying to make, if there's too many negative thought patterns, it's not necessarily going to be the best thing for you. But if you can tap into the quietness and the tranquilness of the light voice, Light is like, it's very clear. It's very absolute almost, and it knows. It's divine in a way that it just kind of knows what's right for you. So stepping into that lightness and letting the lightness kind of not be overcome by those loud voices, and learning about the kind of the voices and the monkey, kind of the monkey mind that like talks a lot in there. We have so many thoughts every single day, so it's like kind of, it's interesting to bring awareness to it and to try and work through it and to work through your higher self. um Katie's also mentioned something really cool, how like we want to like actually move forward or move against it. If you feel yourself wanting to move forward, literally move forward, that means it's right for you. That means if you're like begging yourself to kind of like actually bring yourself forward, that's a good sign. Your body is, in a very subtle way, knows this and can lead you. So yeah, those are kind of the things that I would add to that.
Thank you. Yeah, that definitely resonates really, really deeply. I know exactly what you mean when I feel that force kind of pulling me. I'd say right now in my life, I kind of need to lean into what I love to do to bring kind of that, I guess bring out the life force energy of just true joy of doing something you love. And when you're caught in maybe poor routines or maybe imbalance in your life, whether it's work or relationships, and you can't really lean into what brings you that, what's pulling you. I've been feeling that lately. So I'm starting piano lessons back again, and I'm doing all these different, creative things that are gonna hopefully just jolt me back to where I can like tap into exactly what you're saying, because I feel like I used to really be tapped into the light when I was younger, and when I was, at a certain points in my life, I specifically remember feeling certain ways, like nothing can stop you kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then now it's just a balance, because life adds its trials and tribulations and all of that. So thank you everybody for sharing. Those are all very helpful. So appreciate it. I do have to jump here though, but thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go toss water balloons around and do
Nice.
three-legged races at work. So
Awesome. Have fun.
really good to see you. Yeah, good to see everybody.
Bye. Thank you,
Hi,
Matt.
Matt.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Can you guys see my screen? Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So
Hey, Coleman. Sorry, Katie, go on.
I was just gonna say, and like I'm gonna send this to Maddie, but just to again like show these correlations of what she was just saying. So this is the sacral motor. She's a sacral being. She responds in the moment by the things that light her up. If she's doing things that don't light her up, she's actually losing energy. The sacral is always regenerating itself, but it really regenerates when it's like excited about what it's doing. If it's not, it burns out. She has the 3, which is like childlike wonder. And she also has the 42 of growth. So if she feels like she's in a situation where she's not able to be playful, or where she's in a situation where she's not growing, then her sacral is going to degenerate rather than regenerate. She literally just said that.
Yeah.
So-
Literally just mentioned the child thing. That's
I know, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
really cool. I was going to add something that Coleman said, because I was thinking kind of about the same thing during, I think Katie and Maddie were talking, and then something came in my mind too. That, I mean, we have our 64, gene keys, and although we have different spheres, we are all going to experience all the 64 gene keys through our lives, even though it could be like a slight tendency for a day in your life or a month of your life, and those little shadow tendencies, they are the one that bury your light, right? Like you said, if the shadow is so loud that the light, you can't hear the light because you're so distracted. So let's just say she had that gut feeling for a second. That was her light, her gift right there, but the shadow came right away and buried that feeling. And that's just a shadow tendency from her sphere, that just, like you said, the shadow comes and goes with the gift, right? Because they're the opposite.
Mhm.
And they work together, like Katie mentioned in the beginning, that you cannot sense your gift if you don't understand your shadows. And again, if I have that gut feeling and my mind comes right away, so I see as like, okay, the light's trying to come out, but the shadow came and just buried you right away. And you actually went with that shadow tendency and you had an opportunity to get the light out, but you just burned the light for that moment. That's kind of what came into my mind a little bit.
Yeah. I posted a reel, reposted a reel the other day that was talking about like these thought patterns in our brain and how they work and how it's not necessarily that we need to think more positive thoughts. It's actually that we just need to think less negative thoughts. So there's a huge difference between that, because more positive thoughts doesn't necessarily mean like higher vibration, but less negative thoughts like just quiets the shadow and allows for the light to just be there. And the light doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be like, light is, like I said, it's like quiet. So like the quietness in our mind, the way our mind becomes still, is light in and of itself. So like finding stillness in our mind is like, that's why meditation and breath work and all these different modalities like yoga, all these things can help us with that voice, with that light, that mind body connection. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Makes total
Yeah.
because I'm reading here like the sphere of irradiance. It's just basically what it says, right? That the emptiness around the form is the darkness from which the form arises as light. And that is basically what you're saying.
Can
That's
you repeat that again? Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, it says here that, you know, the sphere of irradiance, they say you may wonder why and how we can have light locked away inside us, but it says here that the emptiness around the form is the darkness from which the form arises as light. So basically what you said is that that's what you just said, that, and then, you know, in my brain came like, you know, when you get a tattoo and you just, if you want to just do the moon, you don't tattoo the moon, you tattoo everything dark and you leave the sphere as the moon. So actually all the, you know, like those tattoos, they're just all blacked out, but the form is the light. They just do the shadow. It's like if I paint everything black, but I leave a circle in the middle, and you can only see the light because of the emptiness of the dark shadow.
Yeah.
Something like that came into my brain. So
Analogy, actually.
Yeah.
That's because like when you read that, my brain was like, what?
Yeah.
But then you just like explained it and I'm like, ah, yes, okay, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I did the same thing. That's why I needed to hear it again. But that analogy is really good. I like that.
Yeah, because when I read it, I was like, wait, what? And I was like, what is that? You can only see light form from the shape of the darkness, you know, like, and then the tattoo comes out, because I've seen people that have like their arms tattooed entirely black, but then the forms are there from the spaces that they didn't, you know, tattoo black. So I was like,
Yeah, it's
huh,
like
that's
yeah.
probably what it is.
Kind of like the plant, like the seed, you know, stemming from the darkness too, in a way, like, you know, all light comes from dark.
Right.
Yes. Dark. And we also are born out of the womb, the dark womb. So
Yeah.
Another cool analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Those are the portals.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the portal, actually. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question about the codon rings.
Sure.
Because and that's what I was thinking when you said that we could all experience and momentarily live all the shadows and gifts and the cities from every single gene key. And I see that the codon rings are also, there's other numbers attached to it. So in essence, I mean, we're all, you know, floating in all the gene keys together, but we just have a a tendency of experiencing more of our numbers because of the time and day that we're born and the location.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, there's so many codon rings attached to your gene key that we have to experience just about everything. And like Katie said in the beginning, she was just reading all the archetypes. And I'm sure if you read every single, from 1 to 64, we're going to resonate with something from it, like in some time of our lives. So, and that makes us all one, together. So it's pretty cool.
Wow,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess to kind of answer your question, the codon rings, um, they're connected. There's 21 of them, I believe, and each one has like a pairing or a group. So it can be either two or more. The one we're looking at right now, it's called the Ring of Humanity. Each one of the rings shares a specific amino acid, except for I think there's one key that doesn't have an amino acid. But basically, they are connected through our genes. They're connected through like a series of like chemical reactions that happen that are expressed in like certain ways through different parts of our physiologies. So through different glands or through different parts of the brain or the body. So I think I don't know too much about it, but this is one of the things that I'm actually looking to kind of dive into and research a little bit more. I've dove into two of the amino acids and actually how they correlate to breath. I'm just like finding that fascinating because when I first got into Gene Keys, I've just been viewing it through that lens of breath, through that lens of learning the biochemistry of breath and how to balance the blood. So like learning about how these amino acids have an effect on the shadow, the gift, and the city through the chemical reactions. And what I found about arginine is that basically when you create free oxygen in your body through the use of like carbon dioxide, when you allow hemoglobin to release using the catalyst of carbon dioxide, you create free oxygen. The more free oxygen you have in your body, the less free radicals. Now, nitric oxide and arginine make up a special, I forget exactly what it is, but there's like a chemical reaction that happens that allows for that. So it like the nitric oxide and the arginine allow for the release through the endothelial tissues. So it's like it's not just NO2, it's arginine that's allowing that to happen. It's arginine that's allowing the actual chemical process to allow literally more free oxygen in our body. And that relates to all of these keys in a way that like will allow us to not only connect through these breath modalities, but if we hold these energetic frequencies through these gifts, shadows, and cities, then we can kind of, I guess, maybe potentially get more free oxygen in our body and allow for these chemical reactions to happen more often. The other one I was looking at was glycine. I can't remember which key it was or which codon ring, but basically it's it helps with it's part of glutathione and it helps with the metabolic process and metabolic pathways. So essentially like breath is connected through that through like our lymphatic system and our drainage system and how we like metabolize literally everything that comes into our body, whether it's food, air, or water. So it's like kind of that's how I'm viewing it, but I'm sure there's more to it within all the
I
codon
think
rings.
it works too, from my understanding, is like a chain reaction. So what you are saying, you don't have to have, just because you don't have every single key that's in the codon ring, it's sort of like when you start to awaken the keys, you start to awaken them all. So it works as a chain reaction. And so if you actually go on to Google and you look up the codon rings, gene keys, it's the first link here. You can see my screen, right?
Mhm.
So then you just go down and you can read about each of the codon rings.
Mm.
Richard Rudd talks a lot about like,
Yeah, there's glycine.
yeah, whatever. That's kind of funny. Whatever one you're
Wow.
drawn to, if you really study those keys, you can actually start to awaken, like you can start to truly like awaken alchemy within your being, or like divinity, the ring of humanity. It's all about like coming kind of down and in. So yeah, even
Oh,
looking at these, like kind of reading up on them and understanding what they govern, and then whatever one really interests you, like start looking into those keys and just, even if it's not in your profile, like embody
yes.
them, just work with the gift and city frequencies of those keys.
Yeah, you can stay on that. I really like the Ring of Alchemy. That was like when I dove into recently. I was talking about glycine and the metabolic pathways. It's literally how we transform things. When we think about like consuming things and absorbing things and utilizing that energy, that's transformation. And this is like alchemy is transformation. It's taking one thing and changing it into something else. Alchemy is in a lot of ways connected through what they talk about in, I believe, this 22nd gene key, when they talk about the three, the trinity of the holy triple solar masculine, like the different avatars in our, like in our history. They talk about Jesus, they talk about Buddha, but they talk about Hermes or Trismegistus, which is like it's also Mercury. It's transformation. It's bringing something from one to another, and it's all about. I thought it was just very cool because it's all about kind of magic in a way. In the city and the gifts between all of these are very transformative. Like the 6 is peace, the 40 is divine will, the 47 is transformation, and the 64 is imagination or illumination. And so it's just like it's very cool to see the connection between different keys, and how they're connected and what they will have in terms of an impact globally. Like once certain people like either come together who maybe have these activations in their spheres, or like make things that are for, for Earth, for the societies around Earth, for the people. I think it's just really cool to look at, look at all that stuff.
The Ring of Matter is a good one to kind of look into, because this is all about how like it's the Venus sequence essentially. It's how what was going on when we were inside of the womb, and then it governs the first 3 7-year cycles. So we have, those are really cool keys to kind of look into, because it's all about like really becoming like a true adult. Like these keys will help you if you feel like stuck. It's like if you didn't work through these keys as a child, like if there were like blocks, or if you stayed in the shadow of these keys, then essentially he talks about how you kind of grow up to be like, you're not a true adult, you're still kind of in your child, like a child posing as an adult. So I always find this one to be a cool one to just kind of look into and see like, okay, when did I start thinking I was inadequate, or who taught me to be resourceful, or like, when did I start judging myself, or do I act in integrity? Just like, yeah,
Oh,
all of them are so cool though. You can like literally look into any of them and be like,
Yeah, maybe we can
so
we can go through these together at some point too, or like utilize this whole page to talk about, or to like to contemplate. I think that might be a fun exercise.
oh, that's cool. So, for example, I have my purpose. I have the 19th gene key, which is attached to the 1661, the Ring of Gaia. So, my gene key 19, so the 1661 are just like part of my. I don't know if I know how to explain what I'm trying to say. So let's just say I have the 19th, and it's also the 60 and 61 are part of that. Is that what it is? Like attachment? I don't understand. Yeah.
well, they're part of that amino acid grouping.
That part, amino acid. Got it. Yeah. That's what
When the 19 starts to awaken, it's also going to trigger the awakening in the 60 and the 61, because it's all a part of that. So as the
Got
19th gift frequency rises, so does the 60, so does the 61. And eventually that whole amino acid is going to connect us. It's from the ring of Gaia. So it's going to help us remember, which is the 33, that we are one with nature, that we're not separate, and we're actually going to be able to communicate with animals and the plants through it's like a sense like touch, but it's not touch, but it's sort of like touch.
It's like auric touch or something. Yeah.
Yes, you know what? I was reading a little bit of the archetype of the 19th. I haven't read it entirely, but it talks a lot about, you know, I guess what you just said, the light touch. I can see things through my hands or feel things through my eyes or really connected with nature. And yeah, I was reading a little bit of the archetypes. I think this week I'm just gonna kind of dive on the archetypes of all my gene keys, and it's definitely a lot easier to understand how how it's written in the archetypes. It's just more yeah, it's just a little bit easier. It's not like I'm reading something, I'm like, what does this mean? And then I'm like,
yeah, it's not so deep.
oh crap,
It brings it to life.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a bit more, it's a little easier to understand, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so I get it now. So my
Yeah.
keys, the codon rings, and the other numbers attached, it's like if I contemplate that enough and I can unlock that one, and the other ones are just with them that I can also unlock together.
Yeah, and even just reading up about the codon ring just to see what that codon ring is all about. So you might not have the 60 and the 61. You might, because if you look at your human design, we might see that you actually do have those.
Yeah, so do you have everyone's human design there? I don't think I know what I
No,
am. Like,
we can
what is it?
definitely-
Generator, and then you have what? Reflector.
Yep, projector, reflector, manifester. You have a generator, a manifesting generator, and the reflector. I don't know if I already said
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's like 4 of them.
Five.
Five.
I'll say it again. It's generator, manifesting generator, manifester, projector, and reflector.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
I'm actually do a reading with Kara.
Nice.
I just do just do a reading for my human design and my gene keys, and I'm excited to see what she has to say. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. Do you also do readings, Katie?
Yeah,
For class? Huh?
Yeah, I'm starting to.
Oh, very cool. Do you do anything different than like human design gene keys, like astrology, or what are you comfortable with those?
Yeah, I kind of weave them all. I've been like looking more at the houses and astrology to understand, okay, so we have this, our life's work is in this key,
Mhm.
but what area of our life is this going to be playing out in? Because like that's your astrology houses will tell you that. So it's like someone might have that in the third house, have their life's work as like this leader in the third house. So it's like this person's probably going to be like really communicating like to their close people, to their community, maybe writing, maybe that's all about communication and writing and like your close community. Whereas then someone might be the leader in the 11th house where they're going to be like working with larger groups. They're going to be leading larger groups, forming more friendships. It goes beyond the community. So it's just like little nuances.
Yeah, the houses are very cool in that they have all these nuances. So each one of the 12 houses, as a part of the 12 zodiacs, have different characteristics, and they can, like, everyone has different houses in different keys. So like she said, it's like it can be, there's so much more nuance to it. There's so much more detail when it comes to specific things in certain times, where the planets are transiting, stuff like that. Yeah.
I bet it's just infinite. There's never an end, it's just,
What's
yeah.
really cool is like all this stuff is amazing, and it definitely allows us to like see a map. And when we're in our highest, like when we're working with our higher self, it's like sort of just happening naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes through in a natural way. And it's fun to just like see it like, oh, this was transiting. And now, like, because I'm in my highest self, like I see it play out. Like we were talking about it earlier. We both mentioned it. Like we're the viewer, or we're just like watching it happen and play out in front of us, um, playing life out in this way that's just like fun and full of color.
Mm-hmm. It's the
So
Tao.
cool.
Yeah.
Just like the rainbow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I also want to mention, I want to kind of go back into the rings and the ring of alchemy. I connected this one through breath work like immediately. I mentioned like it's the ring of transformation, so it's glycine in that it like 47 is all about that metabolic pathway and transformation. The 6 is really about blood. If you read the Gene Key 6, when it comes to balancing blood pH, he talks about as soon as blood balances on the planet, there will be no conflict. There will be no war, there will be only peace. Because through that parasympathetic activation, through the blood balancing, we allow for more space to happen, allow for more space in our own minds, as well as allow space for others. So like there's no judgment, there's no like these like opinions about people.
Breaking barriers.
It's crazy. It's like when we think about the global impacts that this will have, like it's, and this is why like these rings are so important, is because they all kind of like they fit together so well
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to bringing it to the collective and bringing it to humanity. Uh,
They each tell a story.
yeah, it's just very
Oh,
cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
It's almost like, your gene key, let's just say you have your gene key 19, and the codon rings is just like part of the family as a little sister, brother, cousin coming in that forms yourself and your blood.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, that's really cool.
They're a little family working together.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, okay. And yeah, and there's definitely people that you meet and they're not your blood, but you're like, man, that's just like my family right there. You just align so well on the frequency, you're vibing. Like, I feel like I know you forever. I think I've read something in the book that says that. I've read so many things that I don't even know where I read it, but I'm like, when you see someone that you've just met and you're like, wow, I feel like I know you for so long, and there's something there. I forgot what that is, but it's
Mm. Yeah.
it's something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys felt like that before? You meet someone like, damn, like, dude, you just like feel like I know you for like 20 years and we just met. Peter, I know you felt like that before because you're smart there. So
Mm.
Yeah, it's your vibe tribe. It's
there you go. Yeah.
really, yeah, like I've met a lot of my friends through that vibration, those auras, the energy that they emanate and they share. I like can connect with a lot of people in that way. I see groups of people and I can see if they're healthy or not. In like certain parts of my life, I was involved in a lot of groups that weren't necessarily healthy. Weren't healthy in terms of like their routines, their lifestyle, what they thought about, what they shared, like all of these things. And I didn't really recognize it, that it wasn't healthy for me, until it like kind of all came crashing down in front of my face. It was like, you're now unhealthy. You got to turn things around. You got to do things that are healthy, that feel good for you. And that means like literally your vibe tribe, your community. It's so important that we have people that we can connect with and grow with.
Mm.
Because if we're not growing, we're dying.
Yeah,
I know.
that's really important. That's super important. Probably number one
Yeah.
is just noticing those old patterns that I guess helped you deal with the negative subconscious actions hanging around and talking to people or trying to convince them to, be more positive, or trying to help them, or, but there's within that, for me, it was like frustration on when afterwards, after the phone call or after the time we were hanging, I was like, just certain frustration. What's going on with me? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you absorb, we're sensitive beings. We absorb kind of like frequencies and emotions. And if we don't know how to like transform or like kind of clear them out, they can kind of stick to us in a way and like affect us.
Yeah.
I was thinking yesterday how I've like read somewhere it's like we are
11.
like
Yay.
who we hang out with. So like the 5 closest people to us, it's like that's like who we are.
Mm.
I'm not saying that how I read it, but
Yeah, yeah.
you guys get
I've heard that before too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
surround yourself with you are like what? Yeah, I'm
You are
butchering it too.
They say like, tell me who you
five.
hang out with, I'll tell you who you are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
But sometimes you need, like you're saying, Kalman, that you're having this group of friends and that it's like not the best influence, but you have to have that bad influence to realize that you need to get out of that, which is kind of like the shadow and the gift. You need that to, to compare, to understand, And I did pull my human design, and I guess I'm a projector. So I don't know
Cool.
what that means, but I'll study a little bit.
That's amazing.
I pulled that one that you remember. I asked you guys in this chat, like, which one is the human design that you use?
Mhm.
And I think you sent this to me, Katie. So, yeah,
So
that's cool.
let me show.
Yeah, hold on. Do you want to send in the Telegram group like a screenshot of it, and we can pull it up here and take a look at it?
Sure. I think I can. Let me see. I'll take a screenshot here.
Especially so with projectors, is like your energy is actually like it like probes into others. Like you're actually here to know the other. You're here to like feel into the other so that you can guide them. That's like the role of the projector. Okay, yeah. So
That I sent it. Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, so the projectors are, for one, you don't have the sacral motor, so you're not here to constantly be working and producing, which is
Nice.
a bit of what society
Great.
tells you. You actually need rest. Like rest is really important for you. And you're really here to just become, like you're really here to focus on what you're good at and allow people to notice you in that and ask you for your guidance, which it makes sense. You're a trainer, you're a breath worker. It's like the more that you actually share that in whatever ways without any expectation though. It's like you're not sharing breath work because you're like, oh, I want to get clients. It's just like I'm sharing breath work because I actually really love breath work. People are going to notice you and be like, yo, this woman knows what the fuck she's talking about. And like, she's really good at breath work and I want her to be my breath worker. That's like, and then you'll meet these people and you can literally with your aura feel into them. And like, you're very empathetic. Like projectors are empaths for sure. And then you like whatever you're feeling into them, you can then guide them. You can help guide their energy in whatever way you see fit. So that's kind of like the role of the projector and your emotional solar plexus. So you're an emotional being. So you're someone who actually should not make decisions when you're an emotional high or an emotional low. So if you're feeling like really excited, that's actually not the time to be like, yes. Unlike the sacral being, Maddie, who actually if she was feeling really excited and like pulled to something, that would be a yes for her and that would be correct. For you, you actually want to like give yourself a day, like sleep on big decisions and wait till you're in a more neutral space and then decide like, okay, yeah, that still feels good for me. Or you know what? Now that doesn't feel good for me. So that's something really important with emotional authority is to not make decisions in the heat of an emotional moment.
Like impulsive, like you just like boom,
Are not
kind of.
meant to be impulsive. You are
Yeah.
meant to wait out the emotional wave. And you probably do you feel like you're an emotional being? Like, do you feel as though you felt
Oh
like
my,
it was
like I'm such an empath. Like I said, I had to understand and balance it out how much I feel for people, and I'm not leaving anything for myself. Like I'll be like parked at CVS and I gotta go into the store, just an example, or grocery store, and I see a person struggling to get out of their cars, like I want to cry. Like I seriously, I'm like, oh my God, but can I help them? Because it really touches me really deep. Like of seeing people suffering, it just really breaks my heart. You know, there's a lot of things that I had to learn that I cannot change them because I want to change them. I have to just wait and just plant the seeds and have them change them.
Strategy right there. Wait for
for the
the.
invitation.
Oh, I see. I wasn't even reading that.
And that's also
Oh,
the 19 speaking. You feel deeply, you can feel others. So the 19 is like it wants to kind of become one with people because it feels that connection. So it's a very empathetic gate. The projector can get into bitterness when the projector feels as though it's its responsibility to do all of the things without the invitation. So it's like your energy works best. You might notice all of these things, especially because you have that 19, but it's going to be best when people invite you in to help them. Because if you're constantly helping people, even if they didn't ask for it, just because you have a beautiful heart and like you're kind and you want to make the world a better place, that actually over time will drain you of your energy. And then you might end up feeling bitter because you're like, well, I'm doing all of these things for these people, or now I don't have energy for myself or whatever. But yeah,
yeah,
and Carol will, since you're doing a reading with her, she'll talk to you more about your
that's awesome.
strategy, your authority, and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, what you mentioned earlier, I can see that a lot on, when you get your hologenetic profile, you have those little four, I think it's your prime gifts, right?
Yep.
Four primary gifts, it shows your life's work and evolution. So on my radiance, what keeps me healthy is just literally you know, helping others. And it talks about that you naturally know how to relax, but only if you have earned it. And if your life becomes the burst of light that is intended to be, then there's nothing better for you than regular time spent alone. So I have been feeling that a lot in my past 3 years. And it talks about that, what is it? Yeah, it's just basically like seeing the best in others. Like when people are really struggling, it's more like I'm here to help them transform on a very hard decision of others people's lives. Like they're on the verge of like falling off or rising, and then here I come. I feel like I was like I'm the last hope for people when they come to me, that they tried everything, even with training. I've been to chiropractors, this and this, nothing helped. And then I'm able to help them. And that makes me feel so good and fulfilled. And also having to balance that energy, like you said earlier, me wanting to help them more than they want to be helped. So I was able to learn how to wait for that perfect window of opportunity to plant a seed instead of demanding and being aggressive, because I know I can help just about anybody with any type of struggle, but they have to be ready to listen to what I'm saying. Sometimes if I'm saying too much and they're not ready, they're not even going to listen. Like, and the bitterness come, bitterness that you said, like, man, I'm putting all this work, but they don't even care. Like, what am I doing with myself? So it almost feel like, not that I'm walking on eggshells, but I am like, just like the little person, like, okay, there's an opportunity, fit in the little seed and then just be quiet and not to overstep, you know? So I've learned a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, that's that's interesting you brought that up because I've definitely felt that too working with clients. Like some clients I can feel right away that they want all of the information, all of it,
Mhm.
100%. Like let me just do me and just go. And other people I have to kind of like temper or like hold back like bits of information or just like kind of like yeah, like you said or like yeah, kind of like navigate the
Yeah.
path to give them information that's going to make them feel safe and make them feel like they're comfortable in that space because sometimes like not everybody's ready to hear all of it all
Mhm.
at once or they're not actually capable of hearing all that and absorbing the information so like totally same page on that one yeah
Scorpio sign. Yay.
what'd you say
We're both Scorpios. So
yeah
I think you're a little bit of the
water,
Depth
water
too.
signs
Scorpios want to be deep.
yeah like let's go deep like right now like I'm down to talk about literally everything
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when they're ready to go deep, I mean, we can go deep, like there forever. But yeah, I had to learn how to always make them feel good about something they're doing and not just kind of shut them down because they're not doing the right thing. Because who am I to think or say that they're not doing the right thing? It's not my life, it's their life. But understand what balancing their wants with their needs, you know, and that's a huge thing for me that made me grow a lot more. I'm like, you know what? It's everything we say, it's recorded right in their brains and their DNA. So at one point of their lives, that light's gonna come and they're gonna remember what I said. It could be like 10 years later, but it's there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And just wait for the invitation. Just let people come to you. That will kind of help to allow the energy to move, to flow more easily instead of trying to force your any sort of opinion in there, even if it's you know it will really help them. If people don't ask for it, just trust that they will when the time is right, or that someone else will come along and say, hey, I really need you. And yeah, that's just how the energy works best for a projector.
Hmm.
Most definitely. I have to really make sure that my mouth stays shut for many times that people are talking something that, and I know I could say something that could turn their lives around and be the solution, but it's not my place to say it at that moment. And I've learned just breathe, let them speak. I'm here to listen. I'm not here to fix anybody because sometimes they just want you to listen to them. They're not looking for a solution, you know? It's like the polyvagal theory, right? Like we cannot just be thinking and having solutions saying just listen. That's all they need, someone to listen and not say anything. Just
But
be
at the
there.
same time, if someone does invite your energy in, like say someone does say, I want to work with you, and then you know, like, and you're working with them, you do have, like, as a projector, you're here to guide. So even if you are like worried that it's going to offend them or something, and even if it does offend them, if they've invited you into their aura
Mm.
by asking you to work with them or whatever, that's like you don't have to always wait for someone to say, okay, give me like
yeah
to like invite you in.
permission yeah
Once you're invited in, once someone asks you to work with them, use your capability of like being able to literally like feel into people to know what they need and guide them, because what you're saying
Right.
is true. It's like you actually are the type that has this wisdom that can take someone from point A to point Z. Like that's a projector. They are so good at guiding people and knowing where energy needs to flow. It's just, it's the difference between you just meeting someone, they don't ask you to work for them and all of a sudden you're giving them all this advice, versus you meet someone and they say, hey, I want you to be my coach. And now you can give them as much of the advice you feel necessary for them.
Right.
you can push
And
them
it's all
yeah
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I've been really working on that. Like I can say the same exact thing, but how I say it, how the intonation and the it can be either, you know, empowering or just detrimental to their health. So how you say things versus what you say is just, it's huge. It's been really helping out for sure.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Good job.
yeah, thank you guys both for sharing. Um, so we're done with the book, the first one. I think we'll take some time to contemplate and everything, but I'm still down to kind of meet every week to kind of just chat and like kind of dive deeper. Um, if you guys have anything specific that you want to go to and like go through, I'm open to hearing it. But if not, Katie and I will kind of brainstorm and think of like a way to maybe go through something else, but still allow for kind of the meditation contemplation to happen. Um, I do definitely want to do the Venus sequence, but I think we might wait a little bit, see how many weeks that plays out into, see how much reading that's actually going to require, because I think it's a lot longer. There's more
Yeah.
spheres,
Mhm.
and it's actually the most spheres. I think it's the longest one, but that's the next in the sequence, and so I'd love to dive into that. I've read a little bit about the Pearl, and I kind of stopped. I think I want to like I'm like feeling like I want to do the Venus first before I dive and finish the Pearl. But yeah, Katie, we were just talking about kind of where we're going to go with this group. I mentioned that we're gonna take some time to like embody and really contemplate all of these keys, but I think we might still continue to meet and maybe go over some human design stuff, maybe just do more reading on our own. Maybe we can give us as a group uh, like a little bit of a direction. We can go into archetypes, we can go into codon ring,
Mhm.
go into like so many different things, or we can even like whatever's transiting that week or that day or is going to be transiting during that time that we meet, we can look in and read into that and then like kind of almost be prepared for it and talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
So we'll
Great.
sit with it too and just see. And if you two want to sit with it as well, and anything that comes up that you feel would serve the group, would serve the whole, we will work towards making that happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Right
think
on.
there's a lot. There's so much, you know, that's what my girlfriend was asking, like, oh, so once you finish the book, are you guys done? And I was like, I was like, no, not really. I mean, we finished the book, but I feel like there's, like you said, there's so much to chat and share as far as like the animal totem and the archetypes. And even I feel like I'm have to go back to my life's work and evolution again, because I mean, there's so much there that to understand. And as far as the middle spheres, right, the Pearl and the Venus, I see that there are books for that too, right? And the
Yeah,
sequence of different.
And we
Do
have
you guys?
Katie has both PDFs. Yeah.
I have PDF,
Oh, okay.
so if you don't want to purchase those ones, but
Oh,
you might want to if you prefer like a hard copy. Um, but yeah, I would say this is the foundation. The activation sequence is the foundation. Like I mentioned earlier, I've jumped around, I've done it all, and I always come back to the activation. Like that's always where I'm pulled to because this is core stability. Like if you don't really have an understanding of these keys, then like if you're not grounded in those keys, you can look at all the other keys, but that's really where you're going to find that sense of like centeredness, where you're going to feel like your purpose is starting to play out. And all the keys work in like a quantum way where really you can focus on any key and just work on raising that frequency, and it will raise the frequency of all of the keys. So, but I would say just take some time to, yeah, keep contemplating these four keys and look into the animals and read up on the totems and the archetypes and then yeah, we can kind of come together and look at it from like the astrological view of, okay, where is this, what house is this key in, and kind of looking at more human design. And because that once, I think that like the gene keys, human design, astrology are all amazing systems, but isolated, I think they only tell you so much still. When you actually start to merge them, it's just like all of these connections start happening, and it's just like, whoa. But again, then it's like you're more just watching it as a story.
Yeah.
And like you don't want to go so deep where you're like missing the point that it's
Yep.
knowledge, you it needs to be embodied to become wisdom.
Yeah.
So we can spend all of this time talking about our keys and the houses and all of that, but like the real work is actually noticing the awareness. Just keep coming
Yeah.
back to awareness, centering, and
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
real magic and alchemy of it all.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Those
experiencing, things, that's really what matters, because you can know it all, like you said, but if you haven't experienced something that then you really don't know, really. And
It's just knowledge. It's just
Yeah. That's why he
yeah,
said, take,
just
like,
knowledge.
he says if you're going to guide anybody through the activation sequence, that you got to like do it like after 2 years of contemplating, like really just
Wow.
Yep.
time.
Yeah.
What did they say? Knowledge without, what did they say? Knowledge without, I forgot. Practice is like useless. There's a say that says that.
yeah. Without
Knowledge.
embodiment, it's just thought, really.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very
Um,
cool. Well, let's do good things, guys. Be creative and enjoy, have some fun.
yeah.
And so are we meeting every Tuesday still, or are you gonna take
Yeah.
that?
So yeah, we'll
Well, let's like sit with it, because and like we'll come up with a schedule.
Yeah.
Let us know what feels good.
Just follow your intuition. We go with the flow for sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I still want to meet, and I still want to like hold this space, even regardless if we're talking about human design, gene keys, like any of this stuff. I still kind of want to keep a space open to even discuss health and whatever's kind of happening in everybody's world. So I might just keep it open anyway. But we can
I'll be
we'll figure out kind of where to go from here. We'll sit with it for a little bit and talk in the group chat and see what we're feeling. So
Yeah, no, I have this time, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. here for me. I'm down to me and Peter are here for you guys, and we're all together. I know not a lot of people can join, but maybe in the future more people can join, and I know they watch the replays too. But yeah, I think everything that happens in our every single day is going to relate to our keys or someone else's keys, or finding tendencies in everybody's that, like, there's a lot of things that I can see myself in you and you, Katie, and Peter, all different times of my day, my life. And yeah, it's cool.
yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Birthday month officially. Yeah, October. So
Yeah,
it's
we
coming.
did it. We
Peter.
crushed it.
If you want to send in your human design, like if you want to like create that and send it in, we can kind of go over a little bit about your energy and how it flows next week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How do I send it in? Is there the human design? Is there
I'll send you a link for your profile, and then you can either screenshot it and send it to the group, or send it to Common, like, or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you don't
Okay,
want
cool.
the group to see it.
Oh, there was also something Kitty and I were talking about the other day. We were talking about the I Ching, and
Oh,
there's like a whole nother. It's like a whole nother resource that like it's another lens, and that's like a lot of the same transmissions, but just seen through the I Ching. So seen through almost like a different language. So that might be something to tap into too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
again,
Yeah.
we'll let ourselves kind of figure out where to go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wanted
I'm-
to ask
I'm down.
go, Peter. Sorry. Go.
No, go ahead. Finish up.
I was
You're
I was gonna say how much I like Coleman's shirt with the electric boat, and then
Damn.
Katie's, all your mushroom shirts and sweaters are awesome. They're just so dope. It totally matched you guys. Yeah, that's awesome.
And it can feel like
Elect-
that.
My favorite emoji, like
Bolts are cool.
Yeah. Shazam.
Thunderbolt.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Katie. Yeah, I'll take you up on that. Please, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you so much, guys, for reading a little bit of my human design. That was exciting. And Peter is such an artist that I didn't even know, man. You have so much talent.
Oh,
I
thanks.
completely-
Yeah,
Things.
thank
Wow.
you. It's
Pretty
coming
amazing.
along.
Wow.
Some couple cool stories. I can kind of expand next time or something like that. It can remind me, or maybe I'll chat about it or make a little video like I did last week for just contemplation. I think you guys saw that. I
Yes.
did that actually. That one was like a couple months ago. Like I was just figuring some stuff out, but yeah. So this kind of serendipitous way of, and I took action, but it was without attachment. I'm coming into contact real close now with a new camera, which I've been wanting, but I also learned that megapixels aren't everything. It's the sensor inside the camera. So I was like, oh, I need a camera that has more megapixels available. The iPhone's only 12 megapixels, right? But it's the sensor. So I'm coming across a semi-professional camera for like $200
Whoa.
yeah. And it's an older version, but it's modern enough. I mean, within the last 5 or 6 years. So it's an upgrade for me. So I'll be able to do these. I'll be able to make bigger prints and wall murals from the photos and
Very
So-
cool.
Yay! Oh my God, that precision, that impeccability.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
No.
And I'm inspired.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then just real quick, a story about or a short thing, and again, I'll just maybe add into the Telegram with it. I notice I'm really sensitive to all the people that are on like medication for ADHD. You know, like I think we talked a little bit about that last time. Like I'm really sensitive. Like I can just tell because everybody's talking over each other. I was at an event with these dogs for an adoption event. There's a lot of people there. We got some people interested in adopting these 2 dogs that I have. And beautiful space up in West Seattle, a little outdoor courtyard. It's like a gift shop, but they had this cool backyard. Anyways, everybody's talking over each other. There's a dog trainer there, just doing their thing. And it's like, oh, I'm going to take a break. So I take one of the dogs outside to go to the bathroom. And I missed one of the people coming in, specifically coming to see Joan and Jet. But I was already outside. So when she left, I'm standing out there and she's like, oh, and I found out she was there for them and she just lost a dog a few months ago. And she just like, after about 15 minutes total of talking, I was in this empathetic state and I started tearing up when she started telling me about her dog, and I was just there. So I was ready to listen. And I think that's what's really going on for me. It's like, it's hard to listen to people who are like kind of bouncing off the walls because you never really get a chance to do like what Michelle was saying, was just kind of like sit back and listen, because it's feel like it's never going to connect. You know, there's never going to be a moment where you can like be heard, you know? So I feel the sensitivity to that. Anyways, this woman was like in the moment. I became in the moment, and whether she adopts the dogs or not, it's all good. Cause that's, I think what Katie was saying, that's the lesson that happened, but I wasn't trying to say, you know, I need to go outside so I can find somebody to be empathetic with or connect with. It just kind of, and if I think about it, the couple who drove me there, they're also fostering dogs. He was outside having a cigarette. So just before that woman came out, I was talking to him, and he's kind of shy, but he kind of opened up to me, and like I felt more of a connection with him in general. And then across the street was this pub that wasn't quite open yet, and I was chatting up and talking to the bartender that was about to open because they were getting ready for all the, you know, weekend stuff, and the Mariners were like playoff games, so they were going to have that on and blah blah blah. But I look back and I go, "Wow, how's that feel? Like that's me." But I found that, but I wasn't trying. And I was just going by my feeling of like, I'm just going to take the dog out, just move away from this because they're all over there, over talking each other, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, it's
Yeah.
those kind of things that are moving me forward. This group, obviously, and hearing Michelle's story a couple weeks ago, and it's like in real life, a lot of those type of people are going to be coming into my life, whereas the other ones have just slowly moved away, and that includes some family too. So it's
Mhm.
really interesting. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Like, I got some tools, with the book and my chart, and so thank you. And
Thanks for sharing.
That's
yeah, and it's kind of
being in
long.
be in the right time, at the right place at the right time, Peter, without trying,
Yeah, like you're
left
saying,
the room.
you're attracting these clients that are like ready, and even if you see that person trying to get out of the car, that radiates out to someone that's going to be ready, that was getting out of the car and like realized they found your card or saw something on Instagram, or their friend just told them, or they bump into you, or it could be someone else, but that energy that's coming out is all how simple it is, And so
Ma-
yeah, it's beautiful.
It does all happen naturally, and you just the more you become embodied in your gifts,
Mhm.
the more you
Yeah.
attract those
And
that need your gifts, or you just attract people
right.
like minds, or you start
Mhm.
to attract your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So yeah.
Yeah, the more you circle that tattoo, Michelle, like or all of
Yeah,
us, kind of like go around the edges. It's like then stuff's gonna come through, and you're gonna go fall in.
Mm.
Yeah.
definitely. The more you let go, if they say, the more empty you are, the more room you have for light to enter.
Yeah.
So it's about adding, it's about detaching and letting go to have more space.
Yep.
And I've been definitely experiencing that. Before I know we're on time right now. Something that happened about people coming to me last week. I have like a Nextdoor app, which is an app from the neighborhood, and I put my profile there as a personal trainer and breathwork and stuff. And just because I'm like, yeah, no expectations, why not?
Mhm.
And last week, something from the app, I was going through my email, and I heard that someone posted, oh, there was like a storm on an earthquake in Texas. And I was like, oh wow, that's odd. But I never opened my email. So that was kind of in my brain. And then I was sitting on the table with my girlfriend later on that evening, we're eating. And then we heard a loud noise that kind of shook the whole living room. And then right away, she's like, what is that? I was like, oh, maybe it's the earthquake that someone posted on Nextdoor that I read on my email briefly. Let me just go to my Nextdoor. And then I opened my app, and right away on the first page, it was a lady saying, does anybody know a personal trainer? Because I have a spine fusion. I'm looking for a good one. So there was nothing related to what I saw. There was no earthquake at all. The noise, nothing to do with the earthquake. But at the moment that I opened the page, she had just posted that post like 10 minutes ago. And I was like, I never check my app. And I was like, holy crap. So I just went and I texted her. But like you said, people kind of coming to you, and it was pretty crazy. I was like, no way. Like, oh my God, it was crazy. So I was able to connect with her out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, I mean, it's synchronicity, but yeah, we say it that way. But it's like, wow, just be in the right place at the right time. There's not really coincidences or luck. It's just all meant to be. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and I
Cool.
just want to share really quick that that was like the invitation from the universe. So that's another nuance of being a projector. It's not always someone saying to you, "Hey, invite me in, sometimes you get those little invitations from the universe where you looked at it, someone was saying, hey, I need this, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to respond to that. Like,
That's
the universe is inviting me into this one. So there's nuances to it all.
Mhm.
wow. That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Pretty powerful goal.
Enthralled. I'm enthralled for sure.
Light boat.
Mm.
All
Well,
right.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing everything and being part of this space. It means a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thank you.
we'll end it here. We'll talk soon.
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
Touch.
guys, enjoy
Bye,
the
guys.
rest of your day.
Yeah. Much
Have a
love.
good day.
Bye bye. Namaste.
Bye. Namaste.
Michelle.